All right, seems like it's about 6 o'clock, so we'll start out with the pledge to the American flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Only one tonight because we have no planning commission meeting. Only one pledge, that is. So on to the Board of Adjustments. This is the meeting of the Morrison County Board of Adjustment. The board is made up of citizens from the 5 commissioner districts of the county. The purpose of this board is to review the applications of property owners for relief from the strictest interpretation of the county ordinances. Our guidelines are established in state statutes, Chapter 394.27, subsection 7. The decision made by this board is the result of whether or not a practical difficulty has been determined. If the board determines there is a practical difficulty, we then review the guidelines in the form of 6 criteria questions that are answered at the end of the applicant's request. A final decision is then made. Each request is evaluated on its own unique practical difficulty. Variances are granted to the land, not to the landowner. This board may, in addition, impose conditions in the granting of variances to ensure compliance. After your public hearing is complete, you may leave if you wish. Okay, first item of business on the agenda tonight is the election of officers for 2022. Who wants to volunteer?
So you need 3 positions. You'll be chair, vice chair, and secretary.
Okay, and secretary again is just,
You
no
can
responsibilities.
delegate the secretary's duties to land services staff.
Okay. All right. I guess we're all aware of that. So, any nominations?
Mr. Chair, are you willing to take it for one more year?
I'm willing to take it. I think any of you are well qualified to do the job also. I'd trade with Clint if he'd like to, so he wouldn't have two chairman positions, any of the above. But I'd be willing to again, yes. If
With
you're
that
willing to put
being
up-
said, I nominate Dave Stish
For chair?
for chair.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for chairman?
I move when nomination cease for chair. Cast the unanimous ballot for Dave Stish.
Okay, is there a second?
I'd second that.
All in favor say aye.
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 I guess I'm the new chair. Thank you, guys. I think. All right, vice chair. Who'd like to do that? Marv, were you vice chair last year? Willing to do it again? Somebody else prefer to do it? I nominate Marv. Any other nominations? If there are no other nominations, we'll close nominations for vice chair. All in favor of Marv as vice chair, say aye.
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 And I think I heard Marv say aye too. So Marv is the vice chair. Secretary, Mr. Lindgren, were you that last year?
I honestly don't know.
Would you be willing to do it this year?
Sure.
Okay. Any other nominations for,
I move the nomination cease and we cast the unanimous ballot for Brent Lindgren for secretary.
I'll second that motion.
okay, a motion is made and second to nominate Brent as the secretary. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay, we've got officers.
Fantastic.
Okay, with that done, we're off to the first item and only item on the agenda, Harold Dean and Tammy Jensen, 7966 Copper Road, Cushing, Minnesota, 56443. Application for a variance to add on to a non-conforming structure in Scandia Valley Township. Okay, staff report?
Would you like the applicants to state their name for the record, Mr. Chair?
Oh, yes, even though you're not here with us.
Excuse me, and I do have a typo on my first slide. It should not be Jerome and Bonnie Tyson. It should be Harold and Tammy Jensen, so my
Well,
apologies.
is it Harold Dean and?
Maybe clarify that.
Yeah,
It's Har-
perhaps would you
it's
clarify
Harold.
that as you sign in?
Jensen Jr.
Go ahead.
It's Harold with an A, Harold with an A, and his middle name's Dean, so he goes by Dean.
And you are?
Tammy Jensen.
Okay. Boy, that was a big mistake there, wasn't it? I mean, on the slide. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we've got that then. Staff report.
Yes. Mr. Chair, this is a variance request to encroach on the setback from the road right-of-way located in Section 30 of Scandia Valley Township. The ordinance reference for this request is 706.1, and that pertains to the right-of-way setback from a county highway. And then here's a plat map of Scandia Valley Township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the request received from the applicant. And then the site drawing was also provided by the applicant. Here's an aerial photograph of the parcel outlined in blue. And then here's some oblique imagery of the parcel. And then here is the as-built drawing of the septic system. So when the septic system was installed, this is the drawing that went with that. And then here are some site photographs taken at the viewing on the 7th of January. So again, the property is in Section 30 of Scandia Valley Township. It is within shoreland zoning due to the parcel's proximity to Lake Alexander and Mud Lake. And here's an aerial photograph with the zoning layers on, and you can see the parcel outlined in blue, and then where that sits in relation to Lake Alexander and Mud Lake. This is a conforming non-riparian single lot, so that means it's at least 40,000 square feet and 150 feet wide. The property is 200 feet wide and 40,000 square feet. According to the assessor's records, the dwelling was built in 1981, and the property is situated on the corner of Copper Road, which is also known as County Road 204, and Dove Road, which is also known as County State Aid Highway 1. The county has a 66-foot right-of-way on Copper Road. The Morrison County Assistant Engineer confirmed that the right-of-way claim for Copper Road, also known as County Road 204, has not changed since the home was built. At the time of permitting the home, a 50-foot structure setback from the road right-of-way was required. According to the permitting documents, the home was to be 60 feet from Copper Road, which did meet setback. And then here's the permitting documents associated with that. In 2020, the setback from a county road was reduced from 50 feet to 40 feet. In November 2021, the applicant applied for a permit to construct a home addition and an attached garage onto the east side of the home. In connection with that request, the Morrison County Public Works Department staked their right-of-way off Copper Road. The existing home is 36 feet from the right-of-way, which makes it non-conforming. And then here's an aerial photograph again with the right-of-ways turned on, and then the measurement from the right-of-way to the home. The permit application was placed on hold pending the outcome of a variance request to expand a non-conforming structure. The applicant is proposing to construct a 16 by 36 home addition and a 32 by 36 attached garage on the east side of the home. The addition would be 38 feet from the Copper Road right-of-way. An approximate 11,952 square foot building envelope exists on the property. You'll see that drawn in there. The impervious surface calculation, including the additions, is 7.1%, and 25% impervious surface is allowed. At the development review team meeting, staff discussed the following with the applicant, that no further encroachment on the road right-of-way would occur with the project. There is vegetative screening from the road. Home was permitted from the road. Permit indicated it met setback. The shoreline zoning, it is shoreline zoning because the property is within 1,000 feet of a lake. Then we have our applicable comprehensive land use plan goals in natural resources and open spaces, goal C2. Shoreline development, goal D1. And then the water plan goals and objectives, surface water goal, objective B. Land use and development goal, objectives B and D. 71 notices were sent. The county engineer did comment on the request prior to the public hearing. I'll read that email. This is from our new county engineer, Tony Hennon. He commented that the actual encroachment does not seem to be an issue as long as their drawings incorporated the 60-foot and not 33-foot right-of-way. DJ, which is the assistant engineer, mentioned that we staked the right-of-way for them this fall, so he was hoping their sketches are correct. Beyond that, the encroachment is beyond any construction we would ever do, so no issues there. And that is the only comment we did receive. And then here are your finding of fact and decision questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Amy. Does the applicant have anything to add to this report at this time?
No, we're trying to, do the least impact to, it would only require the removal of 2 trees. And this is a well, I don't know if you guys have been out there, but it's a well wooded lot, I mean, you can't really see the sun, during the daytime. So I mean, we're trying to be, as environmentally sound as we can with the thing and still get the the effect. We have my father, Tammy's dad, lives with us also, and the attached garage would be, a great help, especially in the wintertime. He's up at 75 years old now, and he wouldn't have to go outside to get, to get this car and stuff. So that's kind of one of the main, reasons for the whole thing. So, but besides that, we're just hoping.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, for the record, on Friday at 1 o'clock, Brent, Clint, Marvin, and myself and Amy were out there for a viewing of the property and did meet with your father. Is that correct?
Tammy's father, yep.
Okay.
My father-in-law.
Okay, your father-in-law.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Amy, perhaps, before we question the applicant, or could you clarify in the staff report, at the time of permitting the home, a 50-foot structure setback from the road right-of-way was required? Okay, according to the permitting documents, the home was to be 60 feet from proper road, which met the setback.
Correct.
I went on Beacon, and it is 60 feet from the edge of the road.
It's a 66-foot wide right-of-way, so it's 33, the right-of-way is 33 feet from the center line.
Yeah,
On
and
either side.
if we look back at the permit issued back in 81, do you have that on a slide?
Yep.
Yeah, here we go.
I just need to, my screens are kind of goofy today. Let's see here. You want the permit?
The drawing, figure 2, if you have that. Okay, there you go. Can the applicant see these
Yes.
slides? Oh, good. Applicants, can you see these things okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, and you obviously have the staff report on paper in front of you too, yes? According
we
to
don't
the
have that.
inspector's comments, the house to the road says 60 feet, and the way I'm reading it, it's to the edge of the road. And this is dated 4/16/81, and if we go to the figure 2-1, the permit that was issued on 4/19, so after the inspector, I'm guessing. And like I said, on Beacon, I went and I measured, and it's definitely about right at 60 feet from the edge of the road. Are we, so I'm a little confused on this on that statement in the staff report. Because I think, right, at the permitting time, 50 feet, or it was a 50-foot setback, but also, at the time, it was permitted to be 60 feet from Copper Road. I think that's a correct statement, too.
So, Mr. Chair, I think the assumption that we're making today is that the setback in 1981 was from the road right-of-way. They may
Okay.
have measured it differently then. That's the assumption we are making.
Sure.
Because at that time, the Public Works Department did claim a right-of-way on that road.
Okay. And then the next statement down in the staff report is, in 2020, the setback was reduced from 50 to 40 feet.
Correct,
And now they're encroaching 2 feet
correct,
on the
correct.
setback. Okay. I mean, it's just a bit of history that I can see where, I don't know, where did all this start? Because that's one of our questions, later on is,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
maybe a question for the applicant. How long have you owned the property?
Since 2013,
Okay, so you weren't involved in the construction of this building?
no,
And so
No.
you don't have any direct knowledge on the ins and outs of this permit?
just from the neighbors, the old
Okay.
neighbors have been around forever.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that might be a good question. If you have talked to the neighbors, what are their recollections of how, seems like everybody up and down the Copper Road is about the same setback as you from the right-of-way, or less?
Actually, I was gonna say they're all less. We're probably the farthest.
Yeah, we're about the farthest on the whole block, but I guess, I don't know, yeah, I don't believe that anyone got a variance at the time that they built, I mean, that might have been, a few of them were prior to 1973, but I'm certain that in 1981, that setback was different than it is, now, but they were still, compliant apparently, so. And also, as you go to the east and Copper Road veers more to the south, so you get further away from the right of way. It kind of depends on where you measure from to get, center line, to get that angle from that furthest east stake in my lawn is, kind of a different angle can throw it off a foot or, foot and a half or whatever. But I mean, with the snow and everything, I couldn't really pound stakes because the ground was froze. So I didn't get a real accurate, I kind of did the best I could, but I got within that corner,
Okay,
the front southeast corner.
yeah. Okay, well, thanks for those observations, but as far as you know, in your discussions with neighbors, you're not quite sure how everybody got to be where they're at. Probably not very many of them are 1980 landowners anyway, or original owners.
No.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Going to the other board members, sorry. Hopefully that was helpful. Who has, anybody have questions for the applicant, for staff, observations? Marv?
I have a few questions. The first question I have for the applicant here is, this addition that you're proposing, how close are you proposing to putting it next to that well? Would it be butting up next to that well house? Or,
It's gonna go 3 feet from the well. I talked to Mr. Donna Bauer from the Department of Health, and our original plan was to go encase the well and make a room around that, like a utility room there. But since I talked to him, he said that it's better to leave it. There's a 3-foot offset per the Department of Health, Minnesota Department of Health. And that's the main reason why we're coming straight off. And then we're going to bump the garage out further past where the existing well is.
so is that well a drilled well or is that a point?
It's a point. We just had it tested though. John Lovedahl came out and did the analysis on it, and it's really good. It's good water. So we're gonna, and it's fairly new. So
Okay, so did you consider this is if that home or this addition would be shifted 18 inches, maybe 2 feet to the north, and here you would meet that 40-foot setback, which it would change to, and here, did you consider that? And I've known numerous individuals that had their point in their basement, in their garage, even though you possibly recommended that. Have you considered that?
Yes, that was the original plan, but that well came into play right there because, that would narrow that, addition up further yet. And then it didn't seem feasible to step with trust wise and the construction wise would have been, quite an additional cost as well. So.
I don't know if it would be a tremendous amount. I mean, there are numerous homes that are a little shift to them, and it creates a little abstract. It might be a little bit, but I was wondering if you considered that. That's all
Yeah,
the
we
question as I have for now. Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay, before I ask for other comments, Amy, could you clarify that rule? I wasn't quite understanding what the applicant was saying on where the well can be located and all the utilities with the pressure tank and those things.
The Minnesota Department of Health regulates wells, we don't. But there are a multitude of setbacks that wells need to meet from all sorts of things. Wells do need to be 3 feet from structures. So that's what he's talking about, is that structural setback from the well. And they were designing this to meet that 3-foot setback from the well. I know it is not recommended to have your well within your structure, because if you have any issues with your well or maintenance, you can't get at them. It's really tough. And so that in construction now, you hardly ever see a well incorporated into a structure.
Okay, thank you, Amy. All right, Marv, anything to add to that, or, okay. Okay, anybody else have questions, comments? Go ahead,
Mr.
Clint.
Chair. Okay, Amy, maybe this for you. So if they would go ahead with this project, is that 45 feet, is that the right away from County Road 1? So it'd be the east, if they put this addition?
Yep, so
So then they would make the setback that way?
Yes, we're not concerned with the setback from Dove Road, and I'll go back to the slide that has that. But yes, it will meet the 40-foot setback from Dove Road. So we're just concerned about the existing nonconformity that this house is from Copper.
Okay, then I have one question for the applicants. You guys designed, looking at the layout of your property, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to put the addition where you're designing it. But being it don't meet the setbacks, have you guys thought about, or what's your reasonings why you couldn't just add on to the north, even with the house?
We were told that no matter what connected to the house, because our current house is non-conformant, it didn't matter. We still had to go through this process.
Okay.
If it's attached to
Yep.
the existing building, it's non-conformant already. So that didn't matter. And we did think about that because we have the utilities are back there. We have our drain filled, we have our propane tank and all that stuff. We would have a lot more movement we would have to do.
And more trees.
And more trees. We didn't want to take out a lot of trees. This way we're taking out the minimum amount of trees. It's just going to be 2.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of what we saw, but there's snow there. Okay, so let's just say
Yep.
you would put it on the north side. Is there enough room between your sewer system, your drain fill to put this addition? It's hard to see when we're in the snow out there.
No, there isn't. We would end up on top of it and have to move it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all I had. Dave asked the question about the setbacks. I had the same question you did, so that got answered. So I have no further questions at this time.
Okay. Could we go back to that building envelope slide, perhaps, Amy?
Absolutely.
I guess I was curious if, the trouble with an attached garage is then, so at some point later, it can be turned into living quarters. I mean, it's all part of the residence. Is there enough building envelope there to get the addition and the garage? Say if the addition was 16 feet out as they're proposing, and the garage was somewhere to the east of it, it would have to be 10 feet away, I assume. Is that the
From the
distance
septic system?
from the new addition on the house?
I'm not,
Distance between buildings. If you separated the garage and it wasn't an attached garage.
oh, how far would the garage need to be from if, that's a building code question that we don't, from a zoning standpoint, we do not have a minimum
Oh, you don't?
space,
Okay.
no. Whether building code requires a distance, I don't know. So, but from a zoning standpoint, no, we do not have a minimum distance.
Or insurance might too, I don't know.
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
So from your perspective, it would be permittable to have a detached garage somewhere in that building envelope of
Yes.
the size that they're wishing for?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe a little discussion here
Well,
among,
can I ask what that question was about? Where were you going with that?
yeah, I was just going to talk with my fellow board members about that. Hang on, we'll help you, we'll maybe help clarify that a bit before we get to your question there. Fellow board members, have you thought any about that, whether adding it would be preferred, ordinance-wise, purpose of the ordinance and the comp plan to separate those, just have the small addition on the house, and then separate the garage from it. They can figure out how to get from the garage to the house another way. Does that make it any more of a viable option for us? I don't know if the applicant would think that would be a viable option or not. I'm just curious if any of you three would think that would be a better option, and if not, why?
Mr. Chair, maybe I'm going to pose a question to the applicants here, just for clarification on that point. If either one of them can answer this. The proposed building, 32 by 36 garage, it says, but it really doesn't say where the 16 by 32, is it, or 36, is going to go. I'm assuming that's going to be up against the existing house, and then the garage would be attached to that as well, but it's not really
Correct.
drawn out.
Yes.
That's exact, your assumption's right. The 16 feet will be attached to the existing wall on the house, and the garage will be attached to the 16 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the only indication of that, Brent, is the 48 feet rather than, yeah.
But it wasn't actually drawn in there, so you would assume it would be on that side of the house, not the other side. And then the entrance into that garage is coming directly from Copper Road straight into the garage? Is that correct?
Yes, that's the current plan, correct.
Okay. I'm just making some notes here myself so I understand it better. Thank you.
Yeah, we did provide a draft. I don't see it in these slides, but it would have gave you a little bit more of that detail probably.
I don't recall receiving anything. Did you submit that with your application?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have it in my packet, so I'm not quite sure what happened with that.
I don't remember the gentleman's name, but I know he took it back with him and I thought he photocopied it and had it available for you guys. But it's from Randall Building Center, and it's got the better, actual draft of the proposed building.
Yeah, I don't have that in my file, so I apologize.
Yeah, it might be good if you could clarify what that building would look like now, I was having that question too. It looks like, you know, the proposed building is wider than the existing building. Where would your ridge line be on the proposed building? Is the proposed building going to be a little taller than the existing building? It's all one story, I'm
Yes.
assuming?
It's gonna be a foot taller.
It's gonna be a foot taller, it's gonna be flush with the front of the existing property and flush all the way across the front.
And then where it bumps back on the north side, it goes around where the well is to give you that 3-foot setback. And then it bumps back out another 8 feet, I guess. And that is just the garage, the rest of that. So it's gonna kind of it'll corner the existing well and then step back further. And then the rest will be garage.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep, you see in the drawing that you have there, and that's what's missing from the one that we gave
Yeah.
you, is the actual addition, the 16 feet, is going to be less than 36. The garage is gonna jump back because of that well. We don't want to get near that well, so that 16 feet is gonna be 16 by
24.
24. No, not 24, 26.
Oh, it's the width by height is 16 wide and 20, it's
This is 36, take away 8 feet.
28, I guess it is, because it steps out 4.
So yeah, we did have to shorten up the living area addition to be 8 feet less because of the well.
So, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Amy.
So I have the slide up. I just want to clarify what you are asking for. So what I have in the staff report is that you're proposing a 16 by 36 home addition and a 32 by 36 attached garage. Is that correct?
The 16 by 36 will be 16 by 32,
Okay.
right? It's 32. It is not 24, that's our house.
28 to the bump.
Okay, sorry,
It's
16 by
8,
28.
28. And then it goes another.
It's 16 by 28
15
and
more
32
feet,
by.
and then bumps out 8 more feet, and that's only garage.
Okay, so to clarify one more time, the house addition, 16 by 28,
Correct.
and the garage is what?
Would be 32 by 36.
32 by 36. Okay, thank you.
Okay, that changes impervious surface calculation a little bit. You have a 32 by 32 garage.
But it's way
Right.
under, so it's really
Yes,
not
right,
worth
right.
talking about.
But yeah, it was a little confusing there, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had hoped for the 16
Well,
by
hold
36,
on,
but like I said, it changed a bit
Mrs.
for that.
Peterson has the floor.
Sorry, Tammy, wasn't near a microphone. But Dave Stish or the chairperson had asked earlier that a garage can be converted into living quarters, and I just wanted to note that a permit is required to
Change use.
change use within that. So they wouldn't, it would be required for them to get a permit to change that from a garage to a living quarters.
Okay,
So just wanted to let you know that.
Good to know. Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, and applicants, did you have something to add?
No, I don't think so. I think if you have any questions for us, I guess that's all, we're.
Okay. Okay, are we ready for our public input? Okay, I don't know that we have any public input, but we'll ask for it. Does anybody have anything to add to this application, for or against it? Okay, I have to ask 3 times. Is there anybody that would like to add anything to this application? Any discussion? One more time, is there any public discussion, public input? If no public input, we'll close the meeting to public input. So we're on to I guess the criteria questions, unless somebody wants clarification from staff or from the applicants.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mark.
I want to ask this question one more time, and at first, this drawing, it was kind of confusing, but I think I'm digesting and understanding it now. But here, it sounds like the addition to the home is going to be a little bit smaller, so it's a knocked-out area for that well. And by that being said, here, if that garage was dropped down to a 30 by 36, or that addition to the house would be dropped off 18 inches, it would meet the 40-foot setback. If I'm understanding this correct. Is that correct?
Your question is for Amy?
The applicant or Amy, if they could.
Okay, go ahead, Amy.
If they shorten it up and then they offset it.
Correct.
So it would not be able to be flush with the home.
Correct.
With the existing home to meet that setback, but if that was, if the dimensions were smaller and then it was set back just a hair off the home, yes, it would.
That option I thought was there, and I wanted to clarify that to make sure. Thank you.
Yep, I don't know, so are you bouncing that question back to the applicant, if that's a feasible plan for them?
I'm wondering, here you have the option that you still have to go through us, but here you would have the option, and then you would have meet that 40-foot setback, even though it's 18 inches, but on the record, meeting 40 feet, to me, it, meets that setback, and that helps a lot.
And to help clarify what Marv is saying, you would still be needing a variance because you're adding on to a non-conforming structure, but it makes it a little more palatable for some that the proposed, or the new building would meet setbacks at least. I think, does that sum it up, Marv? Okay. Okay, what do you, as the applicant, think about that?
We thought about that, but then that drops down our living space. We already had to cut that down because of the well. And I guess looking at it, it's visually nicer to have it flush. Can that happen if we're, like you said, already attaching to a non-conforming building? Does that really answer or solve any problems? Probably not.
Okay, thank you. And still, I'm not quite sure, sorry, I'm a little thick-headed tonight, but I'm not quite sure I can visualize how you're planning that new structure. The Copper Road side of the building, the roof would be all flush, straight across, old structure to new structure? Or do you have a jog in between the new structure and the existing structure where the wall is up a bit higher above the old roof line?
We're gonna go a foot higher to accommodate the garage door height.
Okay, so it's a foot higher all the way. Okay, so there's a,
Yep.
okay. I think that would look nice. It gives a little break in your building design and gives it a little appeal. Clint, do you
Agree.
have something to add to that?
Okay, just some observation here, because we're gonna have to answer the questions. But one thing to think about here, we still gotta answer our questions and come up with reasons for if we're for this or against this. But you guys, you're getting way off base, I think. When we look at this structure, no matter what we do, that house is not moving. It's too close to the road. You look down the road, you got all them houses down there. If anything was ever done with that road, all them houses are gonna be in the way. It's just common sense that, I don't know, we still gotta answer these questions, but I just want you to think about, we're changing the design or doing all this stuff. It does not change the fact that that house is there already, and every other one going to the west is the same distance or closer. And it's just the way that is. We still gotta answer these questions one way or another, but I think we're getting a little bit in the woods here, just trying to redesign a building. Either we're gonna pass it or not. And if it don't pass, they have to come up with something different.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Clint. We're ready for the questions. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we'll go on to, the variance request is to add on to a non-conforming structure. I think we've got a clear picture now of what that structure would look like, what the applicant is proposing. Is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? We're starting out with Marv tonight.
Well, my belief by the questions and what I've digested of this, if the 40-foot setback isn't met, I don't believe it's in harmony. And there's a few things that could be done, and here one of them, it's only a point. It would be a little bit of work, and it would be a few dollars pulling up the well and driving the point over. Could the garage be shifted a little bit? Yes, it could be. Could the garage be built a little smaller? Yes. So, I mean, there's a few options there. So I don't believe this proposal is in full harmony of what the Morrison County Land Comprehensive Plan is.
Okay. Brent, anything to add to that?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay, and myself. From some aspects, it is in harmony, I think. It's a 40,000 square foot parcel, 200 by 200 feet, and 30,000 square feet is required. It's under 10% impervious surface. It is well vegetated. A lot of trees. I'm assuming there's an understory in those trees and grass. Hard to tell in the wintertime, but it seems like it would meet the comp plan goals and ordinance goals of water, surface water and groundwater. I agree to a certain extent on that well. I think sometimes we are, penny wise and dollar foolish. That standpoint is probably going to be something that is cumbersome to you over the years. It would be best to get a proper well dug and a proper system in place inside a building, like is conventionally done. Pipe the water back into a building with a pressure tank and regulator. That would be, dollar wise, what money well spent for you and for future owners. But I can't say that that's out of the intent of the ordinance. Having a proper well is the intent of the ordinance, and meeting the setbacks is. Okay, Clint, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I guess when I read the ordinance and the comprehensive plan, this application meets everything that is required except for that 2-foot encroachment of the road right away. And looking down the road, how all the other houses are on that same road, that 2 feet I think is plenty acceptable. So that to me it's in harmony with what our intent is. So that's how I see it.
Okay, thank you, Clint. Anybody else want to add? Okay, question number 2, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the land use? Brent?
I think what they're asking for is reasonable. They're asking for a 16 by, just for clarification now, 28 feet addition, along with a 32 by 36, is that right? It got reduced
That's
from
correct.
a 16 by 36 now to a 16 by 28.
16 by 28 home addition, 32 by 36 garage addition.
I think that's reasonable, and to have a garage is reasonable. Where we get into permitted by the land use ordinance is whether or not it's allowed, and it's not a conforming structure, and so that's where we have a little bit of an issue. So it is reasonable to look at the addition and to have a garage, and now we have to struggle with the practical difficulty of how that comes in on a non-conforming structure.
Okay, thank you. I I'd agree with that, and I would just look up and down the road, as Mr. Catherine had in question number 1. Similar structures, similar setbacks. What they are proposing is not different from what their neighbors have. It's definitely reasonable to add a garage, and it's reasonable for this neighborhood, but it's also reasonable for shoreland zoning. Again, they're not non-riparian, but they have a large enough lot. They would definitely, from a passerby, appear to meet all setbacks. They have a well-treed lot, and none of this interferes. I mean, there will be some tree removal, but it still will be a well-treed lot and a reasonable use for both the neighborhood and for the zone that it's situated in. Okay, Clint?
I have no more to add. I agree with what was stated so far for this one.
Marv?
I have nothing else to add, and I agree what was stated on this here. As you said, additional neighborhood, it's no closer, well-treed lot, conforming lot, 40,000 square feet, so nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. Ready to go to number 3? Okay, the issuance of the variance, will the issuance of variance maintain the essential character of the locality? And I start out first. Yeah, I went on Beacon today and actually did the measures from everybody to the road. Not, didn't know where the right-of-way was, but just the distance to the road. And to clarify again, the applicant's structure is 60 feet from the road. The residence across the street is over 100 feet. A little farther down the road, there's a 66-foot residence from the edge of the road. And from there on, they're all less, 58 feet, 23 feet, 31 feet, 41 feet, 30 feet, and 49 feet. So as little as 23 feet to the neighbor across the road who is over 100 feet. So of the 9, I think I'm counting right, 2, I assume, meet the setbacks from the road right away. The rest do not. So essential character-wise, that is the character of the neighborhood, to not meet the right-of-way setback. And also similar structures, again, like under reasonable use. They're not proposing anything outlandish or anything that'll stick out in the neighborhood. Sounds like a nice design that's going to be visually appealing. And then again, there were 71 notices sent out, and 1 reply was there?
From the county engineer.
From the county engineer, right. And the county engineer seemed to be
Yes.
positive about the application. Okay. All right, with that said, on to, anybody else want to add to that? Clint?
No, I agree with what you stated, Dave. You said it quite well, so I'm fine with that.
Marv? Brent?
I agree what you stated, Dave, well stated.
Nothing further.
Okay. All right, thanks. On to the next question. Question number 4 is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property. Okay, Clint, you get to go first on this one.
I believe it is with, they got a good building envelope, but when you be real practical about this, you want an attached garage, you want an addition. I mean, that's what probably most everybody in this room has. And we get sometimes into personal preference on different things, but I think it's kind of the right to have that. And when you look at that, so their building envelope's pretty big, but when you want to attach this stuff to the structure, going to the north isn't going to work because of the well, you could move it, but the well, but also the sewer system, the drain field, the tank, a lot more trees. When we get into this, it's still shoreland, but we don't have no setbacks. They meet all the setbacks to any body of water, so we ain't worrying about that. But looking at the place, it's really good on its pervious surface area. The trees, I think part of the practical difficulty too is is not wanting to cut down a lot of them trees. We want to leave that. Part of our comprehensive plan is being as good as we can to the ecosystem, to the trees, the shoreland, all that. And I know they're a long ways from the shoreline, but if you look at, everything's gonna go to them 2 lakes. And when we got all this vegetation there, that's gonna help too. So I just think with the sewer, the well placement, all them things, their building envelope for an attached addition gets a lot smaller than what the building envelope shows. So that, my practical difficulty would be that, to have it attached, them things are in the way.
Okay. Thank you, Clint. Anybody else like to add? Marv?
Well, the only practical difficulty I've seen here is possibly the well, and that well could be moved. Otherwise, the home was placed too close, and it was just hard to totally grasp why it did get put that close. But they said that's the only practical difficulty I see there is the placement of the well. Maybe somebody else is seeing something different.
Okay. Brent, anything to add to that?
I don't. I think Clint kind of covered that.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with Clint's observation on the practical difficulties of setbacks. Setbacks aren't practical difficulties, but location of certain things. The original structure of the house being one of them. Again, if you don't attach the garage, the setback to the state aid road becomes a difficulty. But I think, and I've been wrestling with this today after I measured, the unique neighborhood that we've got here with, 7 out of 9 neighbors having less of a setback, which Clint pointed out earlier, and the fact that anything happens on that county road, it affects all of them. If there's a widening, and again, the county has indicated there's nothing planned in the future because they got nowhere to go with that road, and it's a short road, not much use. Other than what the present use is, there couldn't be any more future uses that would require a bigger road. So I'm thinking the practical difficulty is the neighborhood, the way all of the structures were somehow measured and placed. That distance from the road tells me that there was some authority which is more an answer to number 5 than to number 4, that overrode the rules or read them differently, or the rules were different back then. So unique to the property is that all the neighbors are in the same condition as they are. That's something we don't come across very often. And this is a county road setback that we're talking about. We're not talking about a lake shore setback, a county road setback. And because of that, it's easier to answer the other questions to the affirmative, to the positive, rather than if it was, lake shore or having something to do with the public's rights. So I've come a mumbo jumbo to practical difficulty here, but I think it is just the uniqueness of the neighborhood that is the practical difficulty. All of the right-of-way setbacks that are not met by as little as, 1 by 23 feet, up to the applicant of 60 feet from the road edge I'm talking now. So, I guess we're done with question number 4. Any other thoughts? Did you make anything of that mumbo jumbo?
Yep.
Thank you. Number 5 is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner. I guess we're back to Marv because, could you start us out on this one, Marv?
I'll try. Is the need for this variance created by actions other than landowner. I'm thinking the prior landowner with the placement of this building is created this here practical difficulty and also created, the need for this variance. Is it related to the whole neighborhood? I agree with Dave's previous statement by that.
Okay, anybody else? Brent?
Other than the landowner or prior landowners, I think we got to look at, the permitting back in 1981, the building of that structure. So that would be outside of, the prior landowners and/or the landowner now. How that was allowed to be built in the location where it was may have been outside of their control.
Okay, Clint, or I guess I could go too.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'd just like to reiterate what I said in number 4 was, all of the setbacks from the right-of-way, 7 of them not meeting it. I think the need for the variance is justified by that, if not created by that. Go ahead, Clint.
I just to say I have no further comment on that. I guess you guys covered that pretty good.
Okay, on to number 6 then. Does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? Starting out with Brent.
Yeah, I think, we're back to all of these things. We're back to the change in the right-of-way, where it was actually reduced. The measuring of how this may have been done, maybe it was measured from the edge of the road to give it that setback when it was allowed to be put there. I was even looking at the buffer on the other side going out to Dove Road. There's some considerations there if you're going to change the way that this thing looks or sits in there as well. Certainly there's economic considerations, but I think there's a lot of other things to consider here. The point that Chairman Stish made regarding the 7 of 9 other homes that are similarly situated along the Copper Road also come into play here, so it does involve a lot of other things.
Okay, the only thing I'd like to add to that is that if they built that similar size structure that met all of the setbacks and could be permitted over the counter, but obviously detached it from the present house, it would cost the same. So it isn't about money. It's about, again, it's about personal needs. It's about the road and how things are, as Brent had said, but it's not all about money. That is for sure. Okay, anybody else like to add to that, Clint?
No, I'm good with what you and Brent covered it pretty good.
And Marv?
I agree with the rest of the
Okay.
staff who said it.
Okay, are we ready to answer the criteria questions? Okay. Okay, is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? Marv?
No.
Brent?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Clint?
Yes.
Number 2, is the applicant proposing to use the property in reasonable manner not permitted by the Land Use Ordinance? Brent?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Clint?
Yes.
And Marv?
Yes.
Number 3, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Myself is yes. Clint?
Yes.
Marv?
Yes.
And Brent?
Yes.
Number 4, is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Clint?
Yes.
Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
And myself is yes. Number 5, is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners? Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Clint?
Yes.
Number 6, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? Brent?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Clint?
Yes.
And Marv?
Yes.
Okay, the 6 questions were all answered in the affirmative. There's been no suggested conditions. Is there a motion to grant this variance request?
Mr. Chair, I'd make that motion.
Okay, I'll second that. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, we'll proceed to vote. We'll do a roll call vote. The motion is to grant this request to add on to a non-conforming structure. Marv?
Yes.
Brent?
Just for clarification here, the changes to the presentation, Amy, have been corrected to
Yes, so when I do findings of fact, I'm going to, and for the grant of the variance, I'm going to use those updated numbers.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify
Yes,
that
thank
before I
you.
voted.
Yes.
Yes,
Good point, thanks. So your answer is?
yes.
Okay, and myself is yes, and Clint?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Any questions? Contact Land Services. Thank you applicants for answering all of our questions tonight. You're still there?
Yes,
Yes, we are. Thank you very
lots
much.
of yeses.
Good luck with your building plans. And
Thank
think
you very
about that
much.
well.
Yeah, you know, if
We will.
if I can't make it work, I'm gonna drill a different well anyway, so that
It
was
might-
kind of in the plan.
Yeah, it might be $10,000 now, but probably $20,000 when you sell it. It'll pay you back.
Yeah, right. Yep, yep.
And it doesn't really
That's-
change your variance request.
Yep, we're gonna make it work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, there are no other variances on the agenda. No minutes to approve. There are minutes to approve.
There should be. There should be are there minutes?
I was just reading the agenda. It says no minutes to approve. Okay, you read the minutes? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented here.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. New business?
Yes.
Okay, new business?
Not really. The only thing I'll say is we do have one agenda item for, one Board of Adjustment agenda item for the next meeting. And I think I already sent you a viewing appointment for that. Because we only have one agenda item, I am going to train you on how to use the intranet site that we set up for you. We will have all of that done, and we're gonna have a ton of stuff loaded up on there for you. So, in the meantime, you will probably get some email to set that up, because it's by password only that you can get in there. But I'm just gonna orient you to that, next time, because it'll be done.
So Amy, you had a 12:30 viewing on that.
I have that on mine because that's what time I have to depart from the office. And so on my calendar, I put 12:30, but we would meet on site at 1. Yeah. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
So will we have a link to this and be able to get into it before that training?
If it's done.
Oh,
So we will, we're working on building the content right now. And on the main county webpage, you're gonna see PCBOA portal. You will click on that and then you'll log into it. So once it's ready and we set up all of you in there, then yes. So, but you'll get some email correspondence from me. Yeah, and then we're always open to suggestions on anything else that you want on that page because it's for you. So, yeah. So we'll
Great.
be done with that soon.
So Amy, how hard was it to get our surveys
It was
for that
terrible.
other thing? I gotta apologize. When I clicked the first time around, I only clicked one.
Oh.
I thought it meant the ones we couldn't attend.
Oh,
And then when
no.
you sent the second one, I realized, oh boy, I hope she didn't redo this because of me.
No, it just never ceases to amaze me how getting 10 people There was not one day in that whole list that worked for everybody. It was just crazy. So it's just like, okay, well, so I just went with, because 8 or, 9, I think was the most. And so, and then I asked a couple of the commissioners to rearrange their schedule a little bit. And so I was able to get the 3, so.
Yeah, that first one you sent, I thought I just checked the one day that didn't work for me. Here, she only got one day that worked.
No, it is slick though to see that, because at a glance I can see what works the best. So hopefully, and thank you for responding so quickly to those. It's really helpful when you do that, so thank you.
Yeah, I was amazed that you found 3 days for all of us.
The first meeting is gonna be February 2nd, correct?
Correct, yes.
I'll be out of state, so.
Well, yeah, because you had said pretty much the only dates that were in March, and we have to get going on this quicker. So if you can make it, great. If you can't, it is what it is.
Will that,
Go ahead, finish up.
will that be recorded and be on the?
Well, it's probably not. It's going to be in-house here, planning session. I don't know if they record their planning sessions or not. If they do, then we absolutely can upload it. We're gonna be oriented here, like in that U, so I'm not sure if you would hear everything, if we recorded it.
The second is an actual travel day, so I mean, I could dial in,
Okay. Yeah,
possibly, but.
yeah, I'll see.
But the other days, would you be able to make there at 1 o'clock, the other two?
No, he's gonna be gone.
Oh, you're
None of
working
those
then.
dates worked for him.
Yeah, right now they don't, so
Yeah.
they may, things change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at 8:30, I may be running a little bit late, but I will do my best.
Okay.
But my wife
Yeah, I
gets it
think the
ready.
biggest thing is I gave you quite a bit of information to look through before, so we're not having to cover all that, but, we'll touch on it, but that's why I gave it to you well in advance, because it's a lot of stuff, and, but, yeah,
We're gonna have to earn our $300 a month.
absolutely,
I read through most of it, but I gotta read it again, cause it's some of it, it's hard.
yeah. So, but on the Board of Adjustment side, no, I don't have anything else for you.
Okay, says there is no further business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
motion is made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion to adjourn passes. We adjourn at 7:07.